So YouTubers out there who love the 17 HMR round, and that round is not to be trifled with because it's so accurate and it'll do the job on almost anything reasonable. But a special hi to Gapster46 because both he and I love the 17 HMR in our bolt action rifles. Today we're going to talk about scope setups for the 17 HMR. And you'll notice that this morning is a very foggy morning. Can't see the houses and the freeway that's down at sea level. And that's a great background for focusing a scope. Got my new BSA Sweet 17 scope, and let's go ahead and focus it. We focus the scope so that we can see the reticle nice and clear against a background like that foggy morning. Focusing the scope is very easy. Most scopes have a lock ring, and then you can turn the eyepiece either way until you can see that reticle nice and clear. Now once you get the reticle nice and clear against a neutral background like that foggy morning, then you tighten the lock ring, get this all nice and snug, and you're all ready to go. The scope is focused for your eyes. Now this BSA scope is a variable 3 to 9 power, and the adjustment ring for the magnification turns easily and smoothly. And we have the turrets for doing the elevation and windage. Now you'll notice that the elevation knob on the turret is elevation adjusted for the trajectory of the 17 HMR cartridge. And the scope is adjustable objective for parallax. So set the range and the parallax will be correct at that range. The BSA Sweet 17 scope. 40mm objective lens. Now the weight of this scope is 19 ounces or 1 pound 3 ounces. So it's not a lightweight, but for the purpose of the 17 HMR, not a bad weight for a scope. So add a couple ounces for the mounts and you've got a 1 pound 5 ounce addition to your rifle for your scope sighting setup. Now the scope comes with these screw-in lens covers, but you can get the nice Butler Creek flip-ups if you desire. Now notice that the fog is starting to lift. So YouTubers, when you evaluate a scope, one of the first things you look for is distortion. And that's when you have a straight line that looks straight in the center of the field, but as you take that to the edge of the field, you start to get a curve instead of a straight line. And that's especially at higher magnification. You'll see here that light pole on the left, it's still straight. So this scope has pretty good distortion-free image. Nice clear reticle, that's very important. And you look for chromatic aberration. What that is the colors start to separate and you'll see distortions in color. This scope has very little chromatic aberration. Now as for clarity, notice that the sharpness of the image is there, but today is a very hazy day. I'll show you in a little while. We take the scope away, you'll see what we're looking at. So you'll notice there's a light pole there in the center of the screen, and the curb there, because it's a corner, that curb has a curve already there. That was not distortion, called barrel distortion, in the scope itself. And notice how the day is a very hazy day. So YouTubers, notice the clarity on a hazy day. Also notice the acceptable barrel distortion, very small amount at the edges of the field. Good field of view, good clear reticle, and that scope should serve us well. It's supposed to be recoil proof, waterproof, all of that kind of thing, shock proof, but we're not going to subject it to much recoil anyway with the 17 HMR. It should serve us very well. And that's the look with the naked eye at 1 power. We're looking at that bush in the distance, actually a tree, and the hazy day. YouTubers, that's my Savage Bound 93 R17 bolt action rifle and very accurate 17 HMR, it has on there a 30-year-old Tasco target scope, 24 power with a dot reticle. Excellent, excellent target scope. They don't make them like that by Tasco anymore. Notice the nice finish on that scope. And if I gave you a close-up of it, you see that is a very quality made piece of equipment. But in the field it's not practical because of the narrow field of view. More practical would be this BSA Sweet 17 scope, and that's why I got it. The evaluation's pretty good on this scope so far, but the way this works is you would mount this scope on the rifle and then zero it dead on at 100 yards. Now once you got that zero set, then you loosen up these 3 Allen screws on top of the turret here, and they give you an Allen wrench to do that. Then once you loosen up this covering turret, then you would set the 100 yards right on that scribe right there and retighten. Then you're ready to go. Suppose in the field you see a ground squirrel out there at 225 yards and you use your laser rangefinder to get that. Then take your 225 yard bar, crank it over to the scribe line, and when you do that, the scope is automatically compensated for the trajectory of the 17 HMR at 225 yards. Take your shot. How handy is that? And so that's why I got this Sweet 17. Also, you would want to set this for infinity if you're going to go ahead and take that shot. So my intention is to mount this scope on this rifle using quick detachable mounts. And that'll give me the flexibility of going back and forth from a field setup to a range setup at a moment's notice. So YouTube 17 HMR fans and Gapster 46, take care, have a good day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.